First of all, thank you for having me on, Jordan. It's great to be on your show. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Family law, the only branch of our legal system where there's no presumption of innocence. Murderers, rapists, terrorists, pedophiles all get more legal rights than law-abiding citizens. And the silver bullet, as I call it, the silver bullet playbook or paradigm of high conflict divorce, the smoking gun of this corrupt legal system, that's become the go-to strategy for divorce lawyers that guarantees victory, and they encourage the petitioners and the respondents to use, usually petitioners, to utilize this strategy, usually the false allegation of domestic violence, to win in court, to get the cash and prizes, for want of a better phrase. You know, when I had no idea of the words family law before what happened to me in 2015. And once I started investigating through experience and through talking with other experts in the system, outside the system, it became clear to me that we have a real issue here. And if we can improve or reform the family court or the family law system, expose the cartel of family law, as I call it, because it is like a crime syndicate, these quasi-kangaroo courts that they have, you don't get the presumption of innocence. You don't get your rights read to you. I've spoken with fathers in particular who've been ended up in court with false allegations of domestic violence. One told me a story about he put his wrists up and said, "Your Honor, arrest me. Have the bailiff arrest me." And the judge said, "Are you crazy?" And the gentleman said, "No. If I'm arrested, I'll get the rights that a criminal has: Miranda rights, access to an attorney, etc., etc." And of course, those who are suffering the most are the people who don't have the wherewithal or the financial resources to be able to have representation. And even those who do, if you are the respondent, you are behind the curve. It is the presumption is that you, as the accused, have to prove your innocence, rather than the accused, which is Western jurisprudence, has to prove their case. So I think
it seems like in our society, in a lot of strange ways, the accuser now seems to have almost an untrammeled right to be believed. And there's an increasing insistence on that in our culture as well, which is, for example, this is a bit far afield, but German chemistry journal the other day, scientific journal, published their new guidelines for authors in the aftermath of a scandalous chemistry paper they published, which hypothetically offended some people, that now authors have to be, what would you say, governed by the realization that their words will be interpreted by those who read them and that they have the final say, those who read them. Mm. And so online too, you can be accused of virtually anything and then mobbed for virtually anything. And it's virtually impossible to defend yourself. And this notion that merely because someone says they've been offended, let's say, in the mildest of cases, that means you have definitively done something wrong there's a pervasive and broad-scale move in that direction in our culture. So what happened in your case? You were the respondent in a divorce case, which you didn't see coming. That's correct? I read your book. It was a while back, so I'm pulling all the bits of it back into my memory. But let's go through the story exactly. And
sure, and just very briefly to that point, yes, victimhood has become the new social currency. Its economy is booming, and where victimhood is rewarded, responsibility never follows. So it's part of the reason I call the book The Respondent. It's the defendant in a family law case, and the petitioner is that person who actually instigates the proceedings. So what happened to me in the span of, I'd say, around 8 hours. I'd been married for 20 years, 2 children, 2 boys, the meaning of my life. We did everything together. I was that engaged, loving, present father. Family was my everything. And,
how old were your boys at that point?
10 years old and 8 years old at the time.
It's ignored. And I think part of the reason that fact is ignored is because of this pervasive anti-patriarchal philosophy, let's call it that because that particular fact sticks so badly in the craw of that philosophy that it has to be ignored. And so,
yes.
But then you ask yourself, well, who are we for here? Are we for the kids or for the adults? Because if we were for the kids, we'd be pushing two-parent families. And then that's rough too, because if you say two-parent families are optimal, let's say, you're faced with the necessity in some sense of having to discriminate against one-parent families, because if two is better, then one is worse. And, then you point to the single mother struggling valiantly against all odds to do a credible job with her kids. And it's not like people like that don't exist. And then you're such a son of a bitch for daring to compare her horrible struggle to what's optimal. But, what's the alternative?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And I think, given the way the system of government is set up, it's very challenging. The system has got so big that we almost need to blow it up and start again. I think,
there's no shortage of people working on that at the moment. Not so much to start it again, but definitely to blow it all up.
Yeah, but
if the idea that marriage itself is a patriarchal and oppressive institution isn't far removed from the idea that the nuclear family, especially a two-parent nuclear family, is not to be preferred, say, over a one-parent nuclear family. So what the hell difference does it make if you break one up? And how do you know the father isn't just an oppressive, what would you say, exploiter? Because that goes along with the entire rest of your philosophy. And then you might say, well, that's just philosophy. Who cares? It's like, yeah, you wait till it gets a hold of your leg. You'll find out who cares real soon, because it's going to be you. And you think that's not philosophy. It's like, you're going to find out real different, real soon, and you're not going to like a bit of it.
Yeah, it's too true. And when I looked into the stats, when I found out that the world leader in children growing up in single-parent households was America, when I found out that 43% of American children live without their father, 63% of youth suicides from dad-deprived homes. I know you've had Dr. Warren Farrell on your show talking about this dad deprivation.
The noted men's right fascist.
Yes,
the guy who used to be on the National Organization of Women. And he's a real fascist, old Warren Farrell.
But it's like, where have all the mentors gone? Well, it's no surprise we don't have many men, or as many men stepping in. Well, we're okay sending them off to war, but in terms of like stepping into the public conversation, because patriarchy, because smash 'em, because believe all. We should listen, yes, but believe all women? No. Time's up, good riddance. Glad they're gone, done. We look at organizations like, once great storied organizations like the ACLU. Gone, done, over. Can't be trusted.
Then there's the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're lots of fun too. Yeah.
Aren't they? They're just a barrel of laughs.
Yeah, they are. They're just a blast, those people.
I mean, look, when we have an industry, going back to family law, when we have a nearly $60 billion a year American divorce machine, that's what the cartel makes, $60 billion. It's not incentivized to reform itself.